In today's video, I'm going to discuss the difference between a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. And this video is meant for individuals that are just starting their retirement planning process, have been in it for multiple years, or really just nearing retirement. So I'm going to go over the 5 most important areas and distinctions to show you the comparisons between a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA, which one is better based on which stage you are in your life, and then also go over a couple different examples, going over the difference between your rollover, if someone's trying to roll over their existing qualified retirement account, such as a 401k, they want to roll that over into a traditional IRA, how that works, versus doing something known as a Roth conversion, taking from that qualified account and placing into that Roth IRA account, and how that could be beneficial for an individual situation. At any point in time, if you're interested in speaking with a specialist, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002, or simply click the calendar link in the description of this video. So the number one key takeaway between a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA is understanding the contributions versus how these sorts of accounts grow. So if you look up at the screen, you see a bucket, and I want you to think of any sort of account to basically conceptualize it like a bucket. And the way on how this bucket grows, either for a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, is by the contributions that someone's placing into this plan, and then also the rate of return that's coming back. So if we're looking at it from the contribution side and we're looking at a traditional IRA account, what does that mean? Well, any contribution that someone's placing into a traditional IRA, they're getting a tax deduction based on the dollar amount that they're placing in there. Now, there's certain cap limits, just like there's cap contribution limits on a Roth IRA, you have cap contribution limits into a traditional IRA. But with a traditional IRA, any dollar that you're placing into this plan, you're going to get a tax deduction, meaning that if, let's say, you make $100,000 in a given year, and you put $5,000 as a contribution into your traditional IRA account, it's going to show as if you made $95,000 that year. You had $5,000 was tax deductible. It goes into this bucket pre-tax. So have you ever heard of pre-tax qualified retirement account? It's growing in there pre-tax, and it grows tax deferred. How does this bucket grow? It grows by the contributions, the amount of money you're placing in there, and that rate of return. What determines this rate of return is based on the different investments or the different strategies that you're leveraging with this sort of account. So let's say if you did not have it invested into anything, you know that the contributions will just be adding positives into this bucket, and the rate of return would be 0% in that example. If, let's say, you wanted to go into a fixed account and have this linked to some sort of fixed account, you know the contributions are adding positive, and then a fixed rate of return is adding a positive to that bucket. Typically what happens is individuals really want to accentuate this rate of return side, this growth side. So what they do is they'll line up different sorts of investments. They'll leverage mutual funds or ETFs or stocks or bonds or REITs or whatever that situation might be, and try to say, I really want to push my pedal to the metal and get a decent rate of return. If I have this long time horizon before I retire, I want to really accentuate this growth. So if the markets are, let's say if you have your rate of return tied to investments and those investments perform favorably, well, then you're going to have positives added to this bucket. So you have the power of compound interest that's growing this bucket. If, let's say, the rate of return comes back negative, it's equivalent to someone taking a sword and slicing this bucket because you had a negative. It could be negative, it could be positive, or it could be negative. Anytime it's positive, it's a combination of your contributions, and the positive rate of return is growing the size of this bucket. Anytime it's negative, it didn't matter how many contributions you placed into this plan, that negative could have a, obviously a detriment to what the size of this bucket will be. So the mechanisms on how these buckets grow, whether it be a traditional or a Roth, are still going by that same formula. Contributions and rate of return equals what the account balance is. But the difference from a contribution standpoint, from a contribution standpoint, is with the traditional IRA, those monies are pre-tax, so you're getting a tax deduction. It grows tax deferred in this bucket, so any sort of growth is growing with the power of compound interest tax deferred, so that when it comes time, after age 59 and a half, when someone's looking to pull monies from this sort of account, it's going to be fully taxable. So anytime they're trying to create some sort of distribution strategy or some sort of withdrawal strategy, it's going to be fully taxable at that point. With a Roth IRA, it acts the opposite way. With a Roth IRA, the contributions are still going into this plan and you're still getting the rate of return, so that formula is the same. But the difference is the contribution is not tax deductible, and the power of compound interest that's growing within that bucket grows tax-free, so that after age 59 and a half, an individual could start pulling monies out tax-free. So when you're looking at that and saying, okay, contributions, one's pre-tax, one gives me a tax deduction now, but it's going to tax me later, With the Roth, I'm not getting a tax deduction now, but it's going to be tax-free monies later. And it is based on really what your preference is, what your current tax situation is right now, and where you feel that tax rates are projected to go to in the future. The second key takeaway is understanding how the distributions work between a traditional IRA versus a Roth IRA. And what I mean by that is we know with a traditional IRA, the monies are growing tax deferred, and then when it comes time to start pulling monies out, all of your withdrawals are going to be fully taxable. And think of it as if you're making that extra dollar of income for that year. So if we fast forward and somebody's in their 60s and they're receiving $50,000 from their occupation, income from their occupation, and they also take out an extra $30,000 of withdrawals from their traditional IRA, it's going to show as if technically they made $80,000 that year because the $30,000 from their traditional IRA is fully taxable. When you look at the opposite side with a Roth IRA, the monies were growing tax-free. So when it comes time to start pulling monies out, those dollars are going to come to that individual tax-free. So all because a traditional IRA, let's say, might have a larger bucket by the time right before retirement, that doesn't necessarily equal a better result. So let's say if somebody's taking $100,000 from a traditional IRA account when they're in their 60s, and they take that in the form of a withdrawal, and that person is at a 30% tax bracket, and all other things being equal, let's just say 30% is basically the percentage of money that they have to pay towards taxes on that $100,000. With the traditional IRA account, at a 30% bracket, they'd be able to net $70,000 of income. With a Roth IRA, because those monies are coming out tax-free, let's say if they took out a distribution of $90,000. Well, if they took out a distribution of $90,000, but because all the monies are tax-free, it didn't matter if they were at that 30% tax bracket at that time. Their monies that they'd be able to walk away with is $90,000. They're netting exactly what they're able to be pulling away from that. On another note is, what happens when somebody's in their 60s? What do they typically collect? Well, Social Security income. You have something known as provisional income, which calculates how much of your Social Security benefit is taxable. As it currently stands, Roth IRAs, withdrawals from Roth IRA accounts, are not incorporated in your provisional income. So that's a huge difference. If somebody creates effective Roth IRA strategies, so we fast forward and that person is now going to be retiring and they're receiving Social Security income, and then they're creating some sort of income strategy off of their Roth IRA accounts, those portions of dollars from the Social Security income will not be affected from a taxation standpoint because of that additional Roth IRA withdrawal that's coming out, because of those monies are tax-free and it's not increasing their provisional income, which can affect their Social Security income. So, simply put, that just means that an individual is able to net more dollars by creating those Roth IRA strategies effectively. With a traditional IRA, there is a purpose and a place for that. The Roth IRA was not giving that person a tax deduction as they were accumulating their dollars, but they're getting tax-free monies, during retirement. With the traditional IRA, they were getting that tax deduction anytime they're making contributions into that sort of plan. But when it comes time that they start pulling their monies out for retirement income, those monies will be fully taxable. So you can net less dollars from a traditional IRA, because obviously you have to put a portion of dollars towards taxes, whether that's in, you're in your 10% bracket, 20% bracket, 30% bracket, based on whatever the tax brackets are at that time and what those, phase out limitations are, those phasing limitations are. Another important area to be mindful of when it comes to distributions are something called RMDs, required minimum distributions. And for the longest time, RMDs used to be at age 70 and a half. Then they switched over to 72. Now, based on whatever year that you were born, it could be 72, 73, upwards to age 75. What is a required minimum distribution? And a required minimum distribution only pertains to traditional IRAs. Roth IRAs do not have required minimum distributions. And what it does is it says, okay, these are monies earmarked for retirement. Both a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA are earmarked for retirement. So you cannot take monies before age 59 and a half. If you do, you can get penalized. You could be susceptible to some sort of penalty. But you can't just constantly kick that traditional IRA can down the road. The government will force you to start taking distributions out of your account when you're in your 70s. So an RMD age, what used to happen in the past, if somebody hit 70 and a half, they would have to start the government would force them to start pulling monies out of their traditional IRA. Why would they do that? The government does that because any dollar that you start taking distributions from has to be fully taxable. So maybe it's X amount percentage, at 70 and a half, or was X amount percentage at age 70 and a half. And then at age 71, it was slightly higher. At age 72, it was slightly higher. At age 80, it was significantly higher. So ways on how it drains down those pre-tax qualified traditional IRA accounts are susceptible to RMDs, required minimum distributions. Roth IRAs do not have that RMD problem. So if we come to situations where you have somebody that maybe they've already created their proper income strategy and they have more than enough income sources in retirement that's greater than or equal to their expenses, and they were trying to leave their traditional IRA account as some sort of legacy play or inheritance maximization. They said, I don't really want to touch this money. I just want it to constantly compound. Well, that individual is going to have to be touching those dollars through the forcing of RMDs, required minimum distribution. So they have to take monies out of that account, take the distribution, pay the taxes, and then they could try to reinvest it. So there's certain areas and there's certain techniques that individuals could use to do legacy maximization strategies for those traditional IRA monies. They could do it in the form of conversions. They could do it in the form of leveraging other sorts of assets that grow tax-free, that really maximize an inheritance tax-free. But just be mindful that from a distribution standpoint, Roth IRAs are not susceptible to RMDs. Traditional IRAs are susceptible to RMDs, which is basically pinning an individual between a rock and a hard place. They can't touch this money before age 59 and a half, but they're forcing them to start touching it at 70 and a half, 72, 73, 75, really based on what the government calls for it at that specific point in time as you start nearing that RMD age. The number 3 key takeaway between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA is customization, and basically how somebody can create the different growth strategies within their IRA accounts, Roth IRA or traditional IRA. Now, this is the similarities between the two, because you could create the same sorts of strategies in a traditional IRA as you can within a Roth IRA. We understand the way on how this bucket grows is by the contribution someone places into the plan and the rate of return that's coming back. Well, what determines this rate of return are the different investments that somebody chooses, or the different fixed accounts that somebody chooses. So individuals could choose different safety-related accounts, they could choose income-related accounts, and they could choose growth-related accounts. A large misconception is thinking that a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA has to purely be stocks, and that's not the case. If we're looking at the safety play, what can they invest their dollars in? Where they could go into a non-invested position, that will be safe. That's not going to have any sort of loss with their sort of account because it's not invested into anything. It's essentially sitting in a cash position within that Roth IRA or that traditional IRA chassis, within that bucket. They could leverage money market accounts within a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA. They could leverage bank CDs within a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA. They could leverage fixed annuities within a traditional IRA, Roth IRA. So all those different mechanisms are determining what that rate of return will be. If it's fixed, you know that this is going to be a fixed rate of return each year, but the actual vehicle that it's sitting in is either a traditional or a Roth, but you could customize the different investments or the different components within that specific Roth or traditional account. Some of the more common ones on the income side would be stocks. If someone's trying to leverage some sort of stock dividend play for income producing vehicles, they could leverage stock dividends or certain stocks that pay high dividends and keep that growing, tax deferred or tax free within their Roth or their traditional account. They could utilize bonds and allow the compound interest to grow within those bonds with that tax deferred or tax free status. They can leverage annuities, and there's a whole multitude of different annuities. Annuities can be fantastic tools to utilize within a Roth IRA or traditional IRA account for retirement income planning or for safe accumulation planning. But there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there, so you have to be very careful if you're trying to use annuities. An annuity is not different than a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. You could place an annuity within a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, just like you can a bank CD or a money market account or a stock or a mutual fund, whatever that is. So those are also REITs, so real estate investment trusts. Individuals could also have rental properties, portfolios within their traditional or their Roth IRA accounts. So there's different mechanisms from an income standpoint. The growth side, different investments could include those mutual funds, ETFs, growth-related stocks. They could use more speculative-related investments. They could use longer-term fixed-related accounts. So there's a multitude of different things they could utilize for that growth play. But just be mindful that everything could be placed within this sort of either a Roth IRA account or a traditional IRA account and how that grows. So the mechanism is all going to be based on whatever those investments or whatever those types of inner components that you're trying to utilize within those accounts. It's just being held within that chassis, just being held within how the taxation works. Is it growing tax-free? Am I able to pull my monies out tax-free? That's Roth IRA. Is it growing tax deferred? Am I going to be fully taxable on these monies as I start pulling withdrawals? That's a traditional IRA. But the different sorts of investments and that customization is still going to be available for individuals that are trying to utilize either or the Roth or the traditional IRA. I'm going to touch up on this more on the rollover side and the conversion side, because that's where it could be very important, especially if somebody starts nearing their retirement and utilizing a Roth or a traditional IRA for that sort of customization mechanism. The fourth key takeaway between a traditional versus Roth IRA is when somebody passes away and that inheritance and how that inheritance goes to the beneficiaries. With a traditional IRA, the monies are fully taxable because understand what's going on. The individual that when they were living, they made that every time they were taking contributions, placing into a traditional IRA, they were getting a tax deduction. The monies grow within that bucket, that account, tax deferred. When it comes time to start receiving income from or taking in the form of withdrawals, it's going to be fully taxable. Because this individual never paid taxes on it, now all that taxation gets passed down to the individual that's inheriting that account. Also, there used to be more favorable flexibility mechanisms for non-spouse that inherited IRA accounts from an individual. They still have, and what I mean by that is an individual was able to leverage a portion of RMDs as if that individual was still living and be able to take out monies systematically before age 59 and a half. When we fast forward to today, if somebody is inheriting an IRA as a non-spouse, and you have to look up, really there's certain mechanisms with that, so make sure that you're looking up for your specific situation if this happened to you. But what's happening is the government now forces individuals to start pulling out those monies and taking it, even though they took it in the form of inheritance, they have to liquidate those accounts very quickly or within a certain time frame, so that as they're liquidating those monies, they're going to have to pay tax on those dollars. So you can no longer do that long waiting game and leveraging the inherited IRAs through the RMD as a non-spouse. Spouse still has those inherited IRA benefits, but there's certain restrictions that have now come into place in just the past couple of years with how that inheritance works on a traditional IRA. With a Roth IRA, because those monies are growing tax-free, when it comes time that somebody's trying to pull those monies out, we know that they can pull them out tax-free. So from an inheritance standpoint, those monies will go to beneficiaries tax-free. It's a beautiful thing, especially if you're trying to say, okay, my goal is to have some sort of inheritance play, some sort of maximized legacy play for my children, for my grandchildren that are non-spouse. I want to make sure that they're at least having the most favorable outcome, the most favorable growth onto what my inheritance is. That's when you'd be utilizing that Roth IRA account. So I hope that makes sense. So inheritance, just be mindful. Traditional IRA, fully taxable. Roth IRA, tax-free. And that could be a huge distinction, a huge difference when somebody's trying to accomplish their retirement goals, making sure that they're customizing their accounts a specific way or they're creating a specific strategy to maximize out that inheritance play. The number 5 key takeaway between a traditional and Roth is understanding a rollover versus a conversion. So what typically happens when somebody's working for a private company, they may have accumulated dollars into a 401k account. When we fast forward and this individual now wants to try to retire, an effective strategy would be leveraging those traditional 401k monies and rolling it over into an IRA. And the reason being is because a traditional IRA, you could customize out those different investments. With a 401k, an individual is subject to about the 10 to 25 different investment options to choose. So they could only try to grow this account on the rate of return side. They could only try to grow it through those 10 to 25 options, those eggs in those baskets to choose. So what an individual does is they start nearing retirement. Whenever they're eligible, they'll take their 401k out and they'll roll it over into a traditional IRA and then customize that IRA into either multiple IRAs and make sure that each IRA serves a purpose. So you might have customization where you're creating an IRA strategy for income needs, you're creating it for emergency needs, and you're also creating it for growth needs, as opposed to just staying in that 401k and just, hoping everything's going to work out and being restricted with those investment related options. So there's some really neat techniques that you could do when taking the monies, because a traditional 401k is a qualified retirement account. What an individual would do is roll over those monies. So they're not liquidating out of that 401k and just throwing into their checking account. That would result in full taxation of those monies. What they're doing is they're preserving that qualified account and they're rolling it over. They're keeping it to like terms into a traditional IRA, and then they're creating certain strategies of that traditional IRA that's going to correlate to what their goals are or accomplishing their goals. When I say income, emergency, and growth, three key areas that any individual needs to figure out before they're retired, or if they're currently retired, how to stay retired forever. They want to make sure that they're creating an income plan, that their income is greater than or equal to what their expenses are throughout retirement. Whatever they don't use up towards an income related strategy, they can have leftover monies for emergency related needs, meaning anywhere between 3 to 12 months of what their expenses are should be set up into some sort of liquid account that they could touch at the drop of a hat in case of an, oh my gosh, an emergency was to occur. And then whatever they don't use up for their emergency and their income related platforms, their strategies, this is the cherry on top. This is meant for the growth related needs. So these are more of their fund monies. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm leaving whatever excess dollars are. I want to leave into a max inheritance play, or I want to place into this, this growth-related account that if the account performs well, me and my spouse are going to take an extra trip this year. It's more of that monies that you're not relying for the income play because you already create the proper income strategy and the emergency strategy. So this is just more monies that are ancillary dollars that say, I want to combat inflation. I want to leave a max inheritance. I want to use it as really my splurge account, as my golf fund, whatever that case is, but making sure that you have these three mechanisms in place and creating the income strategy and the emergency strategy before you move on to that growth strategy. With a rollover, you could do it when you're doing like-to-like terms. Now, what's a conversion? A conversion allows an individual to take their traditional IRA and convert it into a Roth IRA, or take their qualified employer plan and convert it into a Roth IRA. Because we understand with a qualified, let's say a traditional IRA as the example, or the traditional 401k as the example, those monies are growing tax deferred, and when it comes time to retire, those monies are going to be fully taxable. With a Roth IRA, they grow tax-free, you could pull your monies out tax-free. So individuals that do not want to have RMDs, that want to have the mechanism that they feel as if the tax rates are going to be higher in the future, and they want to take advantage of tax-free growth and tax-free flexibility from withdrawals, they'll take either all their monies and convert that into a Roth IRA, or take portions of dollars and understand, okay, I'm age 60 right now, I want to retire at age 65. Let me take 1/5 per year for these next 5 years and convert those portions into Roth IRA accounts. So what it's doing is it's taking from a taxable account or a tax deferred account status into a tax-free status. When that takes place, be mindful, because that individual in the traditional account never paid taxes. They got the tax deduction, it was growing tax deferred, they never paid tax on it. When they do those conversions, then all those monies are going to be fully taxable to convert. So if somebody wants to convert $100,000 in a given year, it's going to show as if conceptually they made an extra 100 grand that year and place that into that Roth IRA account, or basically utilize the conversion. So also be mindful that if we're thinking of the Roth IRA into the traditional IRA in the terms of a bucket, we know that there's specific contribution limits into these buckets. A rollover is different than a contribution. A rollover is more of a transfer. A conversion is more of a transfer. So even if, let's say, an individual is capped at making contributions of $6,500 per year into their traditional IRA or into their Roth IRA, they could still roll over $1 million into that traditional. They could still convert $1 million into that Roth IRA. That actual rollover, that conversion limit, there is no limit on those. So it's just putting that individual in a better situation to customize their dollars better and make sure that now they could create a proper strategy, whether that be a growth strategy, an income strategy, an emergency needs strategy, a safety strategy, whatever that case might be, that's most important to them to help them accomplish their goals. They could do that customization with either a rollover or a conversion type aspect. So I hope that everything in this video made sense. If you need help with your specific situation, if you're nearing retirement, or let's say you just left a job and you want to say, okay, what's the most effective mechanisms to roll over these monies? Should I do Roth conversions? Should I contribute monies into a traditional IRA account or start contributions into a Roth IRA account? I'm not really sure what the phase out limits are. I don't know what the contribution limits are. Is that ideal for my situation? What am I trying to accomplish? I need help with really trying to create my retirement vision. We're here to help. At any point in time that you have questions regarding anything regarding this video, or you'd like to speak with a specialist regarding your specific situation and how you could better your retirement planning needs, you call our 1-800 number. It's 1-800-566-1002. What we did was try to make things very simple for you, and we created our calendar link directly in the description of this video. So you click on that link, you would reference this video, and we're offering a 20-minute free consultation for individuals clicking on that link. Make sure to put down any notes so that we could make sure that the advisor, you might be speaking with myself or one of my other advisors, that we could understand your situation before hopping on that call and seeing if there is some areas that we could benefit you. At the end of the day, it's all about figuring out what your goals are, looking underneath the hood off of your current situation, your current trajectory, and if you could meet those goals successfully, you should not change anything. If there's certain tweaks that you could make to put you in a better mathematical move, and those are different recommendations that we may have for your specific situation. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.